Hello everyone, my name is Houston Wells. I am a documentary film production instructor here at the University of Florida, and I'm joined in the studio today with the producers and some participants on a recent student documentary entitled A Seat at the Table, which is about food access in the city of Gainesville, Florida. So come back after the show and join us for a talkback session.
It's 1 in every 10 white person in Alachua County is food insecure, and 1 in every 4 black person in Alachua County is food insecure.
We want less people relying on emergency food assistance. So any way that we can support access to affordable, culturally appropriate, nutritious food, we're absolutely going to be involved in that process. We'll distribute somewhere between 6 and 7 million pounds of food this year, which means we're getting anywhere from 15 to 30,000 pounds of food into the facility every working day, 5 days a week. We don't want to just be pushing food into the community. We want to understand what are the underlying causes of why somebody's in line for food assistance and trying to work to solve those root causes. We want to use food as the mechanism to bring other people to the table.
If you were hungry, would you want to eat a broccoli every now and then? Or would you just want to eat rice and beans? There's a reason why some people are not hungry. There is not enough food in a food bank to charity us out of hunger. It's really depressing not to be able to eat what you want to eat. Rather than just continuing to feed people with emergency food, we want to solve the problem.
Here I know for a fact, over here on this side of town, I grew up on this side of town, it ain't enough resources. Gentrification is, it's placing us in the state, man, where we ain't, the people not turning faster than money, you know? People over here got a lot of money, and people over here, they not catching on and grasping, so it's like people going here, and it's, yeah, gentrification is kind of, it's the taking over places, man. I know for a fact here in Gainesville, you can look at the places now, and it's not the same, it's not built for that same type of lifestyle, so you don't have that same type of understanding. I'll be talking all day like that.
Land is like just such an important thing, especially for the African American community who owned a lot more land 100 years ago. And a lot has been stolen from black families and black farmers. Having a space that people can come together to grow as a collective, I think is an approach to like just healing the community. Even purchasing land together as a collective should be some of our solutions, because you know, once you get on the land, it kind of tells you what to do.
I even just think about my grandma who had a green thumb, and I would see her growing stuff all the time. But she didn't have a garden, she didn't have a farm, she wasn't in rural areas and doing it that way. I think that because access and resources were not given to her as a young girl, I didn't see her really be able to do what I know she would have had the ability to do with those said resources. So I hope to see every apartment complex like this with a community garden. I hope to see schools with community gardens, before school and after school programs that allow all students to participate in them.
Well, we found the granddaddy of them all.
Wait, can I hold it?
I hope to see people in our communities actually using their backyards to grow a crop or to farm. I hope to see people also sharing those crops within communities to be able to have basically our own grocery store, because you grow basil and you grow tomatoes and you grow kale and we can exchange with each other.
Now for me, what I have done with this
God, this is the happy.
oh yes, it comes up very earthy, but I want you to know something. It has such a great benefit.
That one is my favorite.
This is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
One of the most important things about a local food system is that all of these opportunities for health, education, community building, all of that becomes possible in a local food system. We're an industrial food system where we don't know our farmers. Our food is trucked in on huge trucks from places that we're not in relationship with. Closes off those opportunities. They just don't exist in that.
One would think they're just doing, we're just growing food here and boom, and that's it, and we just eat the food. And naively, that's what I thought initially.
There's a huge connection between food, health, and nutrition. Those of us who are food secure are not getting the most nutritionally dense food we can.
And the food drops was just giving out all the bad food, just all the bad foods to the people in the community. He was like, man, if I want to help my community, I need to help my community by giving them the right things. But we believe that instead of feeding you medication, we'd rather feed you with food. I can sit and give you all the medication for high blood pressure in the world, but if you go home and you putting all the seasoning salts, all the salt and all this different seasonings on it, it's still gonna have the same type of outcome. So what we do is we kind of give you the healthy food, teach you about the healthy food, and also at the same time teach you how to prepare it and cook it.
Apple, pineapple, and a little ginger.
We can grow our own foods, and a lot of times when people hear healthier options like eat a salad or let's get some veggies, a lot of people in our culture are more so like, we've been on our hamburgers and our Swiss cakes. Like, it's a whole nother desire. But when we can really cook our foods, right, and we get the access to those resources and we know how to use them and create something that is flavorful for us, delicious for us, it hits home and it allows us to utilize those resources. And again, it's another symbol and sign of how detached we are from our true culture.
Like okra and rice and black-eyed peas and watermelon. Like, for some of our ancestors, had to braid these seeds into the hair, knowing that they were going to be going through the Atlantic slave trade.
When you're eating island foods and when you're eating, African foods, they're full of flavor and herbs and seasonings, and that's what we need.
Why is this important to you?
Why is it important?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we saving the community.
Good afternoon, Board. Dr. Houchin, Equity and Community Outreach Manager. This is a very important moment for us all to coalesce all those resources, continue that education, and build something in Alachua County that I don't know is anywhere else in the state of Florida.
I am in 100% agreement with both our community and with the staff's assessment that a food hub is exactly where we need to go. But the time that it's going to take for all of those things to be pulled together into what that food hub looks like for our community, I think in and of itself is a feat.
Why are we getting involved in this overly complex situation that's going to cost millions of dollars to sustain and continue to operate this is like getting in the middle of what should be private enterprise.
Historically has been a public-private partnership. The successful food hubs that we see throughout the country are a product of that. But I do agree with Commissioner Prizia. I think it's too big. I think it's not enough time and not enough money to accomplish all that you have in there.
The motion is to approve the work scope and authorize staff to advertise the RFP after reviewing the action, the performance indicators and requirements, and considering reducing the amount of requirements with regards to deliverables.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. You got your unanimous vote.
We live in a democracy where the government plays a role. That does not mean that humans can't also use their agency to work to the best of their ability. When they do that, they're self-reliant.
Yeah, I love the city, never above the city word. I love the city, never above the city word. I love the city, never before the city. Put your hands to the sky if you really messing with me, cause I love the city, never above the city word. I love the city, never above the city word. I love the Ville, never before the Ville. Put your hands to the, yeah, like we always do it this time. Try and say the city with a rhyme. Taking the cornerback, my position similar rhymes.
What makes this a unique event for me is we're really intentional about reaching out to our elders in the community. They will spearhead a lot of the workshops, some of the storytelling.
QRS, TUV, African American History, WX, YNZ.
It takes a team to do what it is that we set out to do. We can only go but so far alone, but in God, for community, right?
I'd like to see that all of our communities had the ability to access fresh and local food, and that practice, which is patterned around racial inequities and income inequities, is broken up. And all of the communities, especially the communities who have histories of agriculturalism, I'd like to see their knowledge come back and they too get to guide the local food system.
It's more than growing food. Going into it, I thought it was just about growing food, but it is truly a connection. You know, it's written that we come from the soil, we come from the dust, but I had no idea of how literal that becomes the more you do connect and yeah, just revisit this beautiful place that we call Earth.
Love the city and never before the city. Put your hands to the sky. You really messing with me, cause I love the city, never above the city word. I love the city, never above the city word. I love the Ville, never before the Ville. Last verse. Yeah, how can I lead my people? Painting on easels of preaching the word of God till I shout it from top of steeple, or combating evil with every weapon I have. This G2 pilot pen is sitting on my back, a chip on my shoulder like the world lays on it. To free those in the pressure, yeah, my mind stays on it. Afraid that one day fame will probably put a haze on it until somebody spin my block and finally sprays on it. Blah!
And welcome back to the studio. We're here with a couple of the producers from the film you just watched and a couple of the participants from the film as well. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and say just a little bit about their role in the film.
My name is Rob Bailey. I'm a director and producer in this film.
My name is Sofia Blafati. I am also one of the directors and producers of A Seat at the Table.
My name is Erenisha Hamilton. I'm the founder and creator of Slit Garden and community activist.
My name is Otis Garrison. I am the farm manager at the Porter's Community Garden.
All right, well thank you and welcome. I'm so glad that you could join us here today for this. One thing I don't want to neglect to do is kind of give a shout out to the rest of your production team. So do you guys want to name some names?
This production would not have been possible without Jordan Kokaric, Chloe Maslam, and MJ Holloway.
So I want to have a question to start with, and this will go to Rob and Sophia to begin with. When you started production, when you were first visualizing this story, what did you have in mind? What did you want to accomplish by telling this story?
Right. So this is a story I had always been very interested in. Being in Gainesville, there's a lot of knowledge of the disparities of Gainesville, part of it being a college town, part of it being a community that's always been here. And so one of the most stark and noticeable disparities is in terms of fresh food access. And so this was something I was interested in understanding more deeply, but also we had found in our initial research that there were no long-form pieces that had addressed recent solutions to the food access problem. And that's where the seeds, so to speak, of the documentary really came in of, okay, here's a story that we know exists, but maybe there's some new angles to it or new development to it that hasn't been told to the town yet. And that's where our exploration started.
How did you find Aranisha and Otis?
We found Aranisha and Otis at the Bread of the Mighty Food Bank during one of the community conversations that we had here in Alachua County. I think we had just walked up to them after some of the talks and discussions and introduced ourselves to Aranisha at first. We learned about her work at the Porter's Quarters Community Center and at the Porter's Quarters Community Farm. She linked us to Otis as the master farmer there, and seeing Aranisha and Otis are really involved in Gainesville and in community organizing here. And so they really became partners in the filmmaking from that first introduction of saying, hey, hello, here's what we're doing, to pretty much leading us through the entire story.
When the production team first came up to you at the Bread of the Mighty meeting, what was going through your mind?
I remember meeting Rob and Sophia at the event, or at least I think I met Rob. But my biggest memory of like really connecting with them is when they actually came out to the farm and we got a chance to talk. They didn't share. We also interviewed them just to get an idea of, what the film was about and who they were as people too. And, our goal is to really tell our story as a community as well.
So let me take that back to the producers here. Talk to me about the importance of not just walking into a space and telling the story that you think is there, but uncovering the story and immersing yourself in it. Talk to me about that.
Man, I can't really overstate the importance of walking into a space with a humble heart and openness and looking to the people who were there to drive the conversation.
We had entered this storytelling journey with the knowledge of a theme. We knew it was going to be about food access. We knew it was going to be about food security. And our job, or our mission then, was to find the people to tell that story. So meeting Aranisha and meeting Miss Faye Williams and meeting Otis, we got a picture of, here's one neighborhood in Gainesville that's doing something. From there, we learned that there's a dimension to this food security story that is maybe not what we had realized. This is actually a story about communities of color, and it's a story about disparities that these communities face. So then we started exploring other paths to expand this idea of what does that mean to be a community of color facing food challenges, and what does that mean to have specific solutions that you're exploring.
And as we learned more and as we met more people, our boundaries narrowed until we found this focus on regaining agency over food and healing the trauma that is associated with working the earth.
First of all, I have to say, and I've expressed to Rob a little bit, but just them coming out as much as they did, but also not just coming out, but being present and looking up at a few of the events, like with the church and different places that we, along with doing the work, I feel like they were very invested as far as their presence and got a real pulse for for not only the work that we're doing, but for telling the story. So specifically for me, when they panned to the scene where the reggae music came in for me, I said, all right, okay, Rob is listening. So they're listening. Yeah, this is good stuff. So yeah, I was really pleased with what I saw. And
something else that was mentioned in the documentary is the concept of a food hub. Can you tell us a little bit more about what a food hub, what that would look like, or what that entails?
So imagine a grocery store, but all of the food in the grocery store is sourced from local farmers. And those local farmers are being paid full price for their food, and all that food is being sold to people in the community. And that grocery store, that food hub, is staffed by people in the community. It is a 100% circular system. And so the RFP that is discussed in the film is an effort by Alachua County to get a food hub in Gainesville.
So the RFP planning process have been going on for about 2 years now, and it's the phase one of what will be a long journey. And this phase one with this request for proposal covers 2 years. And right now where they're at is the expectation for the RFP demands from the person that takes it on, they felt like was a lot. So they're trying to scale it back to where this next 2 years become a planning process of what could this look like. My goal as someone who will apply for the RFP is to show Porter's Quarters community as an example blueprint of what it looks like to take locally sourced food and then provide it direct to consumer, which is starting with that community and them creating a plan to expand outside of that. So a plan to expand into a local community market or into other programs like the Food Pharmacy, Pleasant Street Civil Rights and Cultural Arts Center. But the goal and the idea behind it is to also serve a low-income community. And in order to do that, we have to provide a level of education. That level of education to show people how to use these foods that are coming naturally from the earth, but then also to provide job opportunities in agriculture. And then for us, there's a lot of history there that our people, African American, indigenous, melanated people, we are like, go to the yard, go to the farm. We're out in the field. Yeah, so it's a whole relationship mentally and historically that has to be addressed. So my goal with the RFP is to base it in education. So we're teaching people not only how to farm at local farms, but also in your own house, in your own backyard or front yard. And then with that education, create a sustainable way to address a food hub that is locally providing natural, organic foods to our communities.
So, and I'm hitting you with a question here that you may not have an answer to, but I think it's important in this forum here. If somebody's viewing this, is there some way that if they want to support these efforts, is there something tangible that they can do to support? And I don't know what the answer to that question is, and there may not be a simple answer to that question.
I would say show up. The way you can show up for Porter's Quarters community is, and even Porter's Quarters Community Farm / garden, every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. That's just 2 hours you can come out and volunteer.
Knowledge of what the problem is, knowledge of who it's impacting, and knowledge of what people are doing about it can go so far. So my only and greatest wish really is for people to listen and take some knowledge that's been imparted on them from the film in order to make decisions that impact people greater than themselves. You can shop at farmers markets more often. You can shop or get your produce from local farms more often. You can support local growers, or you can support initiatives for local systems more often. And so I hope that this film gives people a reason to do that.
And if nothing else, one thing that I found throughout this filmmaking process is that I, as a person, am deeply disconnected from the origin of my food. And when I think carrots, I think bright, fresh, orange, no stuff on the top, already ready to go. You could rinse them and throw them in a pot, not with dirt and greens sitting off the top. And so I think getting closer to that connection of where our food actually comes from, and like you say in the piece, we come from dust. That is, deepening that connection is something that's been missing from my life, and I imagine that it's missing from a lot of the folks who are watching this right now. And so to get closer to where our food is actually grown, it is just important to, for me, live a more happy and full life.
And yeah, we lost a lot more than just a variety of crop with the Industrial Revolution, but we again lost the connection, the human connection with environment, food. Eating it is definitely a great plus to our nutrition, but there's so much more happening than just eating the food. So re-educating people, because I know that as humans, it's innate, like it's in all of us, but we just need a reminder to reconnect. And then you kind of get the download from that point.
In the pursuit of this story, how did it change the way that you view the community that you're a part of?
Dramatically. I live right next door to Aranisha. We live a half a block from each other. And yet I would never have known that until we interviewed you. And all of the culture that Aranisha is immersed in is in my city. These are my people. These are people who live in Gainesville as long or longer than I have, that I have never met or never been involved with. And there's a sense of that I've been missing out on something so genuine. There's a sense of, oh, maybe I've actually found my community finally, you know? But the dramatic realization is that this community actually exists, where folks want to, out of altruism, because it's the right thing to do, because there's a connection with food and us. And that's just been an incredibly dramatic realization for me.
Something that really surprised me was the sense of responsibility I ended up feeling to the people that participated in the film and to every single person that helped us along the way. I ended up finishing this film feeling such a heavy sense of duty to do right by the people that I spoke to. And I didn't know it would be that way, but I'm so glad that it was, because it ended up pushing us to tell a story that really, truly was accurate.
Well, I want to thank our guests here in the studio this afternoon. Thank you, Otis and Aranisha, and of course, Sophia and Rob. And if you want to review A Seat at the Table, it'll be available on WUFT.org. Thanks for joining us.